Hello everyone, this is ICBs here and today we are talking about Daredevil Born Again Season 1. And you know what? I'm not even mad. In my previous reviews, I said that I would be very angry and I would be very pissed if there wasn't any action in episode 3 or 4. Well, what do you know? There isn't any action in episode 3 and 4. Yet, I'm not mad. Because this episode 4 is really fucking good. Well, let's talk about it. After White Tiger is murdered, Daredevil goes to visit him in the hospital. Not visit him because he's, murdered for good. There, his niece comes along, Angela Del Toro, and apparently I did some research, and she also ends up becoming White Tiger. So yeah, I think that White Tiger's persona is not entirely gone from this series. I think that Angela will end up helming the title of White Tiger, and she will appear as White Tiger sometime in the future. Anyways, there was another scene with Wilson Fisk and Vanessa at the marriage counseling, which I find to be interesting because sometimes you get some new tidbits about the characters and you get some new lore dropping, so it's fine. But like the premise of the marriage counseling, I don't know if that's working or something that I would like to see Wilson Fisk go to. After that, we see Fisk and his attempt to improve the port situation in New York, and he faces a lot of hurdles, which is understandable because he's a mayor. He just can't say stuff and then they would happen. There's a lot of legal procedures that he has to go to, and apparently he's taking it well enough, which is very surprising. Afterwards, there was also a really unnerving scene where Fisk has to sit in a classroom and a bunch of children have to sing songs at him. And I really mean the children have to sing the songs at him, like he feels physically violated in those scenes. It's really funny, but I do think that the scenes do a really good job of showing how Wilson Fisk is just absolutely pissed off because of this, and then he has to go to a different place. And I don't know what the cultural things are, but he goes to a different place and there are a bunch of adults who are also singing at him, and it's just so funny. But it just shows you that Wilson Fisk is like just one minute distance away from breaking. It feels like he's going to break his character and he's going to start punching everyone. There was also a really intense scene where Daniel Blake, he works for Wilson Fisk, and he ends up leaking some important information regarding Wilson Fisk, which ends up being used against him, and Wilson Fisk gets to be known as a union breaker, which makes Wilson very, very mad. And it's a really intense scene, and it for a moment looks like he's going to really kill Daniel Blake. But Daniel Blake gives a really good speech. He says that he's sorry and that he's loyal to Wilson, but really it is still a very intense scene where Wilson just tells him that if he makes that mistake again, that would be the last thing that he does. That shit was insane. Now again, we cut to Murdoch, who is investigating the place where Ayala was murdered, and he ends up finding a bullet that has the Punisher emblem on it, and he ends up tracking down Frank Castle, and they have a really good conversation. Like, we finally get to see Frank after such a long time. It's definitely refreshing. Already this episode is winning me over, but there's still a lot more awesome shit to come. Like, I can't even, guys, like it's going to get even better from here on out. So the conversation between Murdoch and Frank Castle is very heated, and Frank is definitely pushing Murdoch more towards his dark side. He says that that Poindexter guy Bullseye, he gets to live when Foggy dies, and this definitely hits home for Matt. Obviously he cries and then he seems angry, and then he goes home and then he finds his girlfriend. They have fun time together, and then Matt goes to the roof, and you know what, he has a bunch of Daredevil costumes. I don't know when he got those, like he has them. That's fun. And then we see that he's practicing his judo arts, martial arts, mixed martial arts, whatever he does, but he's going to be coming back in the next episode. I don't know when, maybe in the middle, maybe towards the end of the next episode, but yeah, I am definitely expecting some action to be happening. Now, another thing that happens in this episode, which absolutely is going to surprise no one, Wilson Fisk goes down to in his basement, or I'm not sure about the location, but there's a cage there, and Adam is there. No, it's not Adam Warlock or anything like that. It's Adam, Vanessa's boyfriend. Everyone knows him. Vanessa cheated on Wilson Fisk. Everyone knows about it. Have you been living under a rock? But yeah, Adam is there. Like, I knew that Wilson is not a good guy. He was definitely going to do something bad to Adam, and apparently Adam looks very distressed. He looks like he's been through a hell, like he's screaming in pain. And then Wilson just sits down and he starts eating his very fancy dinner. So yeah, that happens, but it is still not over because something else happens in this episode, and that shit is just the gold. Now, we already got to see a little bit of this guy earlier in the episode. I saw that and I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, I didn't really pay attention to it, but towards the end of this episode we get to see that person again, and it's a weird guy in a white costume, kind of similar to White Tiger, but a bit goofy, a bit scary. It's a bit off. And then we see him carrying a person, and then he throws down that person and he starts collecting their blood, and we see that white person's face, and it is horrific. It is straight out of a horror movie. And then I actually did some research, and it turns out that it is a character called Muse from Marvel comic books. And I'm seeing the cover for his comic book, and he looks absolutely terrifying. Apparently he collects blood from people to make art, and he's basically a serial killer. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like this is already my favorite villains out there. I already love this character. I hope that this guy is really fucking brutal, man. This shit is getting insane. Like, Wilson Fisk is already a really good villain, but this guy's addition is really good. Like, I'm not sure where this is going, but it's going to a really great place, Like, I am really excited for this character's addition in this show. But yeah, those are my thoughts for this episode. Let me know your thoughts, and as always, it's time for a goodbye.